next speaker. I'm really excited. Terrell Fletcher, he is truly a champion, not just on the NFL football field, but he's also a champion of helping make champions in his own lives and others. He's here to talk about the champion mindset and how he can take all our leadership games to the next level. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Terrell Fletcher.
Just came from outside, all the energy is high. Here's what I need you to do. I want you to just shake somebody's hand next to you, around your table, and just tell them, congratulations, you're a winner. Congratulations, you're a winner. It is really important that, that's right. Let them know we're in a room full of winners. Congratulations. Find one more person. That was the wrong person. Find one more person and tell them, congratulations, you're a winner. Well, listen, thank you guys for having me here. My name is Terrell Fletcher, and it feels great to be in a room full of winners. It really does feel great to be in a room full of winners. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about the champion's mindset. But first, before we even get started, I want to tell you a quick story about winning. A few years ago, when San Diego, since we don't have a basketball team, we used to have an NBA exhibition game come every year. And usually, the teams that are involved have to do with a championship level team. And this particular time, there was a team that came to San Diego that were a winning team. I mean, they were one of the most winningest teams in the history of winning. They came to San Diego to play another team that won a lot. And I couldn't make the game, so the tickets that I got, I gave it to a friend, and I told him, hey man, take your girlfriend, you guys go and enjoy this basketball game, have a ball at this game, because it's a game with two winners in it. And I got stage passes for them. There's not necessarily backstage in sports, but they always have a staging place where you can meet players and get a chance to, all the special people get to go back there. And they went back there after the game. The game was spectacular. The stars shined. They played really well. And they went to the backstage area and they had a chance, and they all wanted to. In fact, everybody wanted to meet this one particular player. He was the winner of all winners. He wasn't just a good basketball player. He was, as where I grew up, we called them ballers. He was an absolute baller. He was dynamic on every level. Even winners called him the chief winner. So my friend was super excited. He was pumped up. He was getting ready to meet this winning guy. And he had brought, at the time, it was his girlfriend. It's his wife now. And if you know what I mean, she was a winner too. And he brought her to the edge of the stage, and they began to shake hands with all these championship level winning basketball players. And he shook hands with those guys. And there was one basketball player in particular, and he was super excited about meeting this particular basketball player because he was the winner of all winners. And as he shook his hand, he tried to introduce himself, and he wanted to introduce his girlfriend, who was now his wife. And the basketball player was not very interested in him anymore. He was really interested in the date he brought. And he put so much focus on his date that his date got, kind of uncomfortable. He proceeded to have one of his handlers make sure that she got all of his phone numbers and information just in case, she recognized that he was the winner of all winners. Obviously, both of them were disgusted by the situation. A great night went downhill fast for them. When they came back to our side of town, we connected. I was so excited to find out how this went. I said, man, how did the game go? How was the game? It's fantastic that you guys got a chance to see two winning teams, one championship level team, and you got to meet one of the greatest winners on the championship level basketball team, or the winning championship basketball team that has ever been a part of our generation. You met the top dog. I said, how was it? And this is what he told me. He said, Terrell, he wins. And he wins a lot. But he will never be a champion to me. because he understood what I'm about to share with you in the next 30 minutes, is that being a champion is different than being a winner. Winners perform. Winners have a metric that they chase. Winners is everybody in this room. You guys are the best of the best. We are all winners at some capacity, some level, doing something in our life. We are all winners. But my question isn't today if you're a winner or not. My question today is, are you a champion? Are you the kind of person that has an ethic when you go to work every day? Are you the kind of person that lives in the level of ethical and moral living, whether you're at work or at home? Are you that person on the stage and off the stage? Are you that person when you're having a good month and when you're having a bad month? Are you that person that understands that winning is a part of the journey, but it is not the only part of the journey? That people matter. The truth matters. Ideas need to be respected. I want to talk about champions today. And I had you shake hands with another winner just to let you know that winning isn't all that special. Winning isn't all that special. You can find a bunch of winners, but we don't find many champions. So for the next few minutes, I want to talk to you and I want to challenge you with the champion's mindset. Now, why the champion's mindset is because that story birthed this entire teaching that I go across the country and I share and I tell certain groups and certain people. And I love to have this idea about champions because, as you can tell, I'm a former athlete. In fact, I'm just one of 5 athletes in my family. I'm very proud of them all. We have 4 boys. All of us had scholarships. 3 of us went to play football. 2 of us went to the National Football League. 1 of us actually won the Super Bowl, and that one is not me. I ain't happy about it, but I told him I'd tell the story when I talk to people. So, but and on top of that, you're going to hear a lot of football stories today. I try to make my points using metaphors. Some of the metaphors are athletic, and the metaphors are football. So if you're not familiar with American football, welcome to Earth. And secondly, don't worry about it too much. It won't be that complicated. I promise you, I'll make sure that you understand all the metaphors. But I am concerned. I'm concerned that we are creating a world for our young people, creating a world for our teenagers, creating a world for our youngest generation, our next generation that is built on competition that's not healthy. It's built on winning at all costs. It's built on relationships that are not foundationally built. It is built on outcomes instead of the journey. I'm concerned about that because the world needs us to treat one another like humans and not Autobots. And the workplace, interestingly enough, is the place where we spend more of our time with individuals than practically in any other place of our lives. So when we have a message like this, like be a champion or have a champion's mindset, we have to bring it into the workplace because it's like I can get the cast the net to get the most people. So I want to challenge you and I want to speak to you guys today about the champion's mindset. I also want to throw myself in the lump with all the rest of you that are winning because I've had a pretty cool life and I've won a lot. This is a picture of me in college at the University of Wisconsin. Yes, I'm very proud to be a Badger. University of Wisconsin, I was a 4-time letter winner, 2-time All Big Ten team captain. I was Outback Bowl MVP my senior year. I was very fortunate the year before to win, to be on the championship team of the Rose Bowl. We won the Rose Bowl and went to Pasadena to beat UCLA. I'm very proud to beat UCLA because the brother of mine that actually won the Super Bowl went to UCLA. I should have been the MVP of that, but you know they always give that to the good-looking guys. So, but we had a ball. I know a lot about being on teams. I'm really excited because we won a lot. We won a lot in college, and we even had some amazing years in the National Football League. I spent 8 years with the San Diego Chargers. In fact, that's how I got to California. I grew up in Missouri, went to Wisconsin for school, got drafted in the 2nd round by the San Diego Chargers. I spent 8 straight years in California, and when I retired, they asked me if I was moving back to St. Louis, and I gave them this face. I was a team captain for 3 years, and I also was a union rep. I represented our team in our union rooms. This was the pro team that I was on. I was winning. I won. I I am a winner. I know what winning is like. I also know what winning is like because I married this chick. And I have these 3 beautiful babies. You'll see my wife, Cavalia, in a few pictures, sunglasses. My oldest daughter, Kaya. You'll see Miss Corey, who is right underneath their shoulder. And you see a picture of me and Kingston. Corey and Kingston are twins, and they are my life. I'm a winner. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you. I'm a winner. But that doesn't put me in any different category than any of you. Most of the people in this room feel the exact same way about your journey. You feel the exact same way about your family. You feel the exact same way about your profession. You feel the exact same way. In fact, some of you are looking at me right now like, that dude played in the NFL? I probably could take him. And I will reply back to you that you can hit me, but you better call your lawyer afterwards. So, I want to challenge you today with 4 pro tips for achieving a champion's mindset. We all are winners, but we are not all champions. One of my favorite authors, his name is Brian Clemmer. Brian Clemmer wrote a book called The Compassionate Warrior. And The Compassionate Warrior had everything to do with the mindset of a samurai warrior who was a fearless competitor, fighter, and would stand for his community and almost to the death stand in his own honor. A compassionate samurai, for as fierce as he was in defending his honor, he was also compassionate. He was also a person that gave back to his community, had fidelity to the person that he claimed to love, also valued community, valued the world around him. And I've always taken myself to be the type of compassionate warrior, the kind of guy that's going to wake up every morning and compete my fanny off to try to win at the things that I think are important to me, but at the same time, realizing that that's what I do, it's not who I am. That I am someone's son, I am someone's husband, I'm someone's father. I represent more than just what my talent allows me to do, and so do you. You represent more than just what your intelligentsia allows you to operate in. And I want to press on that because we'll pay you a lot of money for being a winner, but nobody jumps up and down and gives you a high five for going home to your spouse. Nobody's waiting at the door with pom-poms because you made it to the soccer game one time. And today I want to give you your pom-poms. Today I want to help you celebrate. But it is a mindset. Why is it a mindset? Because our minds change all the time. Nous is a Greek word that they use to describe the mind, and it is the seat of understanding. It's the place where we filtrate all of our information, try to make sense of it, and then go live it out in the world. And the mindset can shift, it can change, it can go up, it can regress. You might not necessarily lose the information, but you can lose the standard that you once operated on. And a mindset is like a thermostat, not a thermometer. People look at a mindset like a thermometer. A thermometer just tells the temperature of the room, but a thermostat sets the temperature of a room. And your mind operates just like that. Your mind, this room is probably set at about 70 degrees. If it ever got to 66 in this room, the thermostat would tell the heater, run the heat, and make sure that the temperature goes up to 7. And the engines will come on, and all of a sudden the room would go from being 66 degrees to being 7. But if by chance it got to 73, it would heat up the room, cool it down, and bring it back down to 70. And our minds is just like that thermostat. What you believe matters. Because if you believe that you be loved, if you believe that you're a C-rate individual, if you believe that morals is an optional part of your human feature, if this is what you believe, then at the level of your morality and your ethics, when you're not meeting it, you'll drive yourself up to meet the level of your morals, and you'll be super excited about who you are. And if by chance you're doing more than you think, you'll cool yourself down. And you'll come back to the level your mind is set at. That's the power of belief. And that's why, so there are 4 belief systems. There are 4 things that I'm going to challenge you to add to your thinking to be a champion. These are 4 tips. These are pro tips. Let the pro give you some tips right? On what it looks like and what it feels like to operate in this mindset that you can take at home, you can take to work, you can take any place that you dare to show up in, that you have the capacity and the ability within you to show up this way every time you choose to. But every champion I've ever been around, whether it's a champion in sports, whether it's Ken Blanchard, a champion in leadership, whether it's a champion in the faith world or a champion in the business world, every champion that I've been around has this mindset. Number one, they believe they belong in the game. Every champion every champion I've run across believes they belong in the game. They believe that because they have the skills, the aptitude, and the abilities, and they've been chosen to be at a certain level and stage in this world and in this life, that the influence that comes with the place that they are in, they can wield it for good because they believe they belong there. They believe they belong there. There are some of you that can make life easier for the people in your team, can make life easier for people in your communities. You can make life easier for your families, but you don't believe that you belong at the level of the influence that you have in your hand. So when I was a rookie is a first-year athlete, and I just gotten drafted from Wisconsin. And what happens the day after you get drafted is they fly you into the city that you got drafted into. You got to do all these press conferences. Then they send you back to your school for about 3 days worth of trying to go to school. Then they fly you back out to where your city is because they have what they call mini camp. And what a mini camp is it's 3 days of intensive football practices where the first year guys that are still in college get an opportunity to kind of play around with the pros, practice with them, learn the tips, learn all of those things. And here I am, I'm a second round draft pick. They fly me out from Wisconsin. I get to practice and my head was so big, I promise you I wouldn't have been able to make it into this room and by big head, it just means I was so arrogant, I was so confident in my abilities that when we got to the practice field that day, I was so excited that I believed that anybody that lined up against me was going to get it that day. They were going to lose with a capital L. And there's this famous drill in football when you don't have on pads. It's called the one-on-one drill. And the one-on-one drill is simply, for all of you that are football challenged, I'm going to help you. The one-on-one drill is simply they put a person in front of you, and it's one-on-one. The quarterback stands there, you run a particular route that's on the route tree, and that person's job is to stop you. And I was the very first rookie called up. Fletcher! Couldn't tell me nothing. I strolled up there, and you know, everybody that's fast always walks slow. Right? You ever notice that? Everybody that's fast, I walked up, I strolled up, I did my little deal, said, go, boom, gave it inside dash, moved outside, went up the field, caught the ball, I gave it to him. I walked back to the huddle, I told the quarterback, I said, who's next? 3 plays later, I was back up. Fletcher, you're back up. Next person lined up against me. Bust his behind. That's a good thing, by the way. Come back my third time. Next time it was my turn to go. I jumped up there. They brought another guy who was supposed to have been like a really good football player. He lined up before me. He took the outside fake. I came on the inside, jumped back on top of him. Pass complete. Everybody's going crazy. I am giving it to professionals. I came back, my chest was big, my head was big, everything about me felt like this is about to be the easiest task ever. When I came back for my 4th time, there was this guy who was just kind of watching all the action. And he grabbed his helmet and he says, coach, I'll take him. His name is Junior Seau. Now, if you don't know who Junior Seau is perhaps arguably the best outside linebacker to ever play in the history of the game. He is about 6'3.5". He was about 245, 250 pounds. He literally probably had about 3% body fat. He was lean, he was mean, and he was, when I say mean, he was like a pack of hyenas all wrapped up in one person. He stood up in front of me. I lined up before him. He lined up before him. My heart started racing, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna bust his bottom. I was so excited about this opportunity that when the ball got hiked, I went for a move. He bid for the same thing everybody else bid for. I was so excited because I knew that I was about to get him because I'm fast and he's 250 pounds. I take off running past him. I feel real good. The ball is coming in the air. I reach out my hands, and as the ball starts coming in, I feel this shadow come over the top of me. All of a sudden, it's like an eclipse of the sun. The ball comes. I still think that I'm going to get it. He jumps. I don't know how he has to jump about 4 feet. He knocks the ball down. We both roll on the ground. I looked up in amazement. He looks at me and says, "Welcome to the NFL, rookie." So every day, from the time I was in high school until literally the day I retired, I would call my father after practice. My father's my friend, he's my hero, he's all the good things that you can think about with a father. He taught me how to do everything right, and he also gave me lessons to learn so that I wouldn't make the same mistakes as him. So I picked up the phone that night, I called my dad. He says, "Hey son, how'd your first day of practice go?" I said, "Dad, if everybody in the NFL is as big, as fast, as strong as Junior Seau is, I ain't gonna be here long." I said, "Dad, Junior's 6'4", he's 255 pounds, 260 pounds. I said, he's got like 3% body fat, and he's as quick as me and as fast as me. And I'm trying to tell you, if he hits me, we don't even have on pads. If he hits me going at 4 or 5 speed, it is gonna be bad news for me." And my father listened. He said, "I get it, you're right. This is gonna be bad news for you." He said, "How about this? How about you go take that check that Mr. San Diego Charger gave you, give it back to him, and tell him you don't belong here." He said, "I want you to do this. I want you to go and talk to the general manager, the guy that traded away 2 draft picks to move up in the draft to get you to San Diego. Go tell him he was wrong." He said, "What I want you to do is I want you to go find all of your college coaches, your high school coaches, and tell them, thank you for preparing me to go to the next level. But when I got to the next level, I realized that all of you were wrong about my skills and my abilities." I said, "Well, Dad, you know all my coaches believe I belong there." I said, "Dad, you know Mr. Bethel believes I belong there. He wouldn't have drafted me." I said, "You know that man went down and gave me that check. If he didn't believe I belonged on his football team." My father asked me this simple question. He said, "Well, if it sounds like to me, if everybody else believes you belong there, then maybe you ought to start believing that you belong there. When are you going to walk around not arrogant?" I needed to be humble. I definitely needed to be humble. I didn't need to walk around arrogant, but I did need to walk around like I belonged there. I did need to walk around like the investment in me was made by people that saw something in me that maybe I didn't even see in myself. And that I could be at this platform and not just be a good football player, but maybe be a force to make some child in a hospital smile. Or to make some fan that just had a rough week, rough month at work, escape it all for about 3 hours. Maybe there was something I could use my platform for that would be influential and a force for good. Maybe I belong and I should start acting like I belong, because belonging is not just about skill, it's about what the world and universe believes you can do with the influence. Who could you influence if you start acting like you're the CEO? If you start believing you belong at the level of an executive? Whose life could you change? Because that's the way champions function and operate. It's not just about the number at the end of the month. It's also about who can our section make better. What in our environment, what in our job community, what in the community that we live around can we improve upon with the influence that we have in our home? I'm challenging a room of winners to believe they belong and adopt the mindset of these champions. Mindset number 2, pro tip number 2, is that champions embrace the process. Will you say that after me? 1, 2, 3. Embrace the process. Say that. Embrace the process. Champions embrace the process. So do you realize that on average, it takes the average person who has climbed Mount Everest it took them between 60 and 65 days to get to the top. On average, 60 to 65 days to get to the top of Mount Everest. That's a long time. That's 2 months of mountain climbing. That's lunacy. And also on average, the average person stays less than 6 minutes at the top before they come back down. 60 days to get to the top. 6 minutes at the top. When they talk about the stories of climbing to Mount Everest, most of the successful climbers to Mount Everest don't tell stories about what it's like at the top. They tell stories about what the climb was like. Because they learned more about themselves in the process than they did at the outcome. I want to challenge champions. Sometimes when I sign my name, I put DOT at the end, and it's not to brag, but it does mean something, to me at least, because as an athlete, you're not supposed to be smart, you're not supposed to be educated, you're just supposed to be this big brute. That's who we're supposed to be. So it was always a goal of mine to get my doctorate degree. So when I graduated college, I graduated with a degree in English Lit. And then I went to, I spent a stint in Bible college, and that's where I got my master's degree in religious studies. And when I left, people thought, like, yeah, man, you're going to go into divinity. And I said, absolutely not. I want to go into leadership. So I found a great college. I got my doctor's degree in transformational leadership. And the beauty of transformational leadership is that transformational leaders focus on the things that can be taught and learned in the journey, as opposed to the things that we learn in our outcomes. Because if this climb to Mount Everest is part of our example, we recognize that we spend far less time winning as we do processing. And if that is going to be the case, here's going to be my challenge to you, is that you got to fall in love with the process. You have to be okay with the good months that you have and the bad months that you have. You have to be okay with the moments that make you feel like you're the best in the world, and those moments that make you feel like you're the worst in the world. I am a father of a 12-year-old daughter, and just about a month ago, I had one of the worst daddy moments you could ever imagine. My 12-year-old daughter looked in the mirror and realized something that her dad had been telling her whole life, is that you are the most beautiful girl that heaven has ever made. And she came down the stairs about 2 months ago, and she had her hair down. And she had on her mommy's heels. And she had taken her little shirt, and she had made a little knot, where she had just a little bit of belly button showing. She came down the stairs, and she says, "Daddy, am I pretty?" And I said, "No, you're not pretty. What are you doing with that?" I said, "Who told you you can let your hair down like that? And undock your shirt and pull your shirt down and cover your belly button. And does your mom know that you have on her heels trying to act sexy?" And I was just trying to be a good dad, and all of a sudden, waterworks. She takes off running. I'm thinking, I'm just being a dad because I don't want her to be that girl. And my wife comes in the room. She says, "Bad daddy moment." Bad daddy moment. And it only took about a day for us to be outside, tossing around the wiffle ball, and all of a sudden she was my little girl again. And I realized that after a day and a half of sulking, thinking I was the worst father in the world, I realized that mistakes were just a part of the process. I realized that the power to be a father was not going to be wrapped up in the fact that I made a horrible decision the day before. But that I will continue to show up, and I will continue to love, and I will continue to be compassionate, and I will continue to protect, and I will continue to advocate for her, and I will continue to be all of the things that I were before I made the mistake. And I would embrace that mistakes are just a part of my process. I learned this at the University of Wisconsin. And in case you didn't know, we went to the Rose Bowl and won it in 1991. I was there. And again in 2000. And again in 2001. And in a 10-year period of time, we became the college that went to the Rose Bowl and won more than any college in the history of the Big Ten. That includes Michigan. I caught that. We're very proud of that. And when I was at the University of Wisconsin, the weight room and the practice field were right next to one another. And we had a sign in front of the weight room that said this. It said, the road to the championship, the Big Ten, comes through here. Now, in case you guys don't understand it, you might see these guys in the gym and they're lifting weights and they're getting big and all this stuff. You might see athletes competing in the gym. Nobody loves the weight room. Nobody likes the pain of the weight room. Nobody likes the sweat of the weight room. But it is a necessary evil if we're going to get to winning. If we're going to become champions, we realize that we've got to go through the process, the pain that is involved with this process in order for us to become who it is that we want to become. And champions embrace the fact that this is just a part of the journey. Now, we're going to have good months in our room, we're going to have some bad months. But that doesn't mean I'm going to fire you because it's just a part of the process. And what if we extended that kind of grace to one another and allowed each other to process our journeys and allow one another to process, to grow in the process? I think our companies, our businesses, our communities, our families become more empathetic when we recognize that the process is just a part of the journey, the most important part of the journey. The third tip I want to give you is that champions take risks. Every champion that you know takes risks. And I don't mean to be, when I say take risks, I don't mean to be flippant. I don't mean to just roll your eyes in the gamble because there's too much at stake for you to take those kinds of risks. But I mean the kind of risks that embrace the fact that doing it wrong is a part of the journey. The risk that Bobby Bethard told me one time, he said, I could have missed on you, but I believed in you. Who do you believe in enough to take a risk on? So Albert Einstein, one day, he shows up to his class, and Albert Einstein begins to write on the chalkboard. 9 times 1 equals 9. And then he writes 9 times 2 equals 18. And I better get to the end of this before I can't tell you what the answers are. He goes all the way down and he gets to 9 times 10 equals 91. 9 times, and the room starts to snicker and they start to laugh. And he turns around because he's Albert Einstein. He knows that 9 times 10 equals 90. Some of y'all didn't know that, but he knows that 9 times 10 equals 90. But he said to them after they got finished snickering, he sat back and he asked them the question. He said, because you guys laughed at me for making this mistake, I want to teach you a lesson about life. He says, no one celebrated the fact that I got 8 of them right. But everyone noticed that I got the one wrong. And the reason why he kept going 9 times 11, 9 times 12, is because he wanted to prove to his class this idea that because you make mistakes doesn't mean that you are a mistake. Because a mistake has been made doesn't mean that it defines the person, defines the business, defines the section. Champions continue to take risks. They continue to try, even though they know that mistakes are inevitable, that failing is a possibility, that doing it wrong, that criticism, that critique is a part of the journey. Champions take risks. I'm going to challenge you not just to take a risk at work, but take a risk on being amazing. Take a risk on being a blessing to someone. Take a risk on giving someone a chance that otherwise wouldn't have deserved a chance. Because you believe you belong. You know that you have the power, the influence, and the ability. Lean on it and change somebody's destiny. The final thing that I want, final pro tip that I'll lay out in front of you. And after I finish this, I want to share with you a thought about something that I'm really passionate about and some of the people in this room are passionate about. Is that champions share their stories and they inspire the champion in others. There is no such thing as being a champion alone. Every championship team has somebody that is overly inspiring. Again, from my college days, I was a part of this bowl game called the Senior Bowl. And the Senior Bowl is in Mobile, Alabama. This is a very unique and interesting place to go. And in Mobile, Alabama, the game is nowhere, the Senior Bowl, it's really not about the game of all-stars. And all-stars meaning all these great college football players from other schools would come. It really wasn't about the game necessarily. It was about the competition in practice. So what would happen is all the general managers from the 32 football teams, the head coaches, and their coaching staffs, they would come for the week of the Senior Bowl practice. And when the Senior Bowl game actually happened, they would pack up, they would leave because they really came for the practice. They came to see you compete. They came to see you match up. They came to see what kind of temperament you had. And this was a whole week long. And here you go, walking through the hallways. And you got to understand how professional sports are. It's a science, not just, people running and knocking each other down and getting back up. It's a science. They have an average height that a running back, quarterback, wide receiver should be. They have an average weight for a running back, quarterback, defensive end should be. They have a hand span, a shoulder span, a waist span, a thigh span, all of these things. And this is what they're measuring for a week. They're looking at your temperament. Do you laugh and play a lot because, he's going to be a jokester in the locker room? Are you serious? He's intentional. He's going to be good. Are you getting along well? All they do is follow you around all week long. I know this sounds crazy, but that's the way it looks. You're at mess hall, at dinner. They're watching you at dinner. You're hanging out with the friends. They're watching you hang out with your friends, taking notes. Literally, they didn't even call you by your name. They called you by your number. They didn't even put your names on their jerseys. They just put your number. Hey, 41. Hey, 16. Hey, 23, come here, let me talk to you. Let me see those hands. Small hands. Let me see the size of your hips and your thighs. Let me see. And after a week of that, you started to feel kind of like you were that number. And this particular day, we were in calisthenics, we were stretching, getting ready to go for practice. Everybody's a little exhausted because it's the best going against the best. We're tired, we're exhausted, we're trying to show off for these guys. And then here comes this guy. He's got on this blue sweatsuit. He's got on flip-flops. He's very different. He has no clipboard in his hand. And he starts shaking hands and he's talking to guys. And he goes to the next guy. He shakes hands. He spends a few moments with him. He comes up to me, and by this time, I was on the ground. I was stretching on the ground. He comes and he shakes my hand. And he says, Terrell Fletcher. I said, yes, sir. He said, Bobby Bethel, that's my name. I'll never forget what Bobby said. Bobby said, how's your mother? At that time, my mother was actually going through a bout of breast cancer. She had her surgery. She was doing well. I said, Mom's doing well. I think she's going to be all right. He said, good. And how about Brian? I said, you couldn't get him to go to Wisconsin, could you? I said, nah, he went to UCLA. He said, but he's going to be a fine player in about 4 or 5 years. I said, thank you. And I started thinking to myself, like, how does this man know all this stuff? Like, I just spent a week being a measurement. I just spent a week being a number. I just spent a week being a 40-yard dash time. I just spent a week. And this guy has the audacity to make me feel like a human being. He made me feel like I mattered, like my journey mattered, like my struggle mattered. He didn't make me feel like the number they were calling me. He made me feel like Terrell Fletcher. I didn't realize what that did to me. I didn't realize that it energized me, that it made my shoulders step back, that it made my head my chin rise up. He didn't realize that it gave me confidence for that day. I had the best practice of all the weeks simply because for a moment in time, I was not what I did. I was not defined by my outcomes. I was not defined by my metrics. I was not defined by how many sales I had at the end of the month. I was defined as a person that had issues and people that he cared about and things that concerned him. And since you're all winners in this room, you probably have someone that answers to you. And I wonder, when they answer to you, are they answering to the number you're calling them? Or you're answering are they answering to the humanity that you're calling them? What Mr. Beathard did in that moment, he was already a proven guy. He was a two-time Super Bowl champion with the, at the time, Washington Redskins, now Washington Commanders. He had actually just drafted and put together the San Diego Charger team that had just went to the Super Bowl the year before they drafted me. Of course, they would draft me the year before, after they went to the Super Bowl. He was a winner. He was a winner at every level. He was a winner in every place he had ever been. But what he was to me in that moment was a champion. And a champion shared his story about his son and the challenges he had with his son. He shared with me about his spouse and the challenges that she had with breast cancer as well. He met me at a human level, and here's my question, or here's my statement. We were at, to you guys it's just football field, but we called it work. We were at work. I'm gonna talk to you guys because they're not listening. We called it work. And I wonder if the 21st century working group is expecting us to bring our humanity to work, or are they expecting us to leave it at home and do business as usual? Are they expecting to work underneath and to work for a winner, or are they expecting to work under and work for a champion? And my challenge to you is that if you can open up and allow the vulnerability of being human into your workplace, you can inspire the people that work with you, that work for you, that work above you, or maybe even beneath you. You can inspire them to step into spaces of excellence that they never stepped into before. I heard our friend say this earlier about love. He said that it was a word that was not allowed into the corporate space. But the reason why I'm able to do what I do, primarily because I play professional football. But when I come into a place, I try to connect these two unique things, the intelligence of the brain and the humanity of the heart. I try to make the connection that you can be uberly intelligent and fantastic at what you do, kick butt and take names, and also care about people, care about the world, and care about life. That's the champion's mindset. So for me, when I had the opportunity to work with the Blanchard community, Scott and I went to dinner one day, and I recognized that this was an organization full of champions, not just winners. I'm the executive director of the Blanchard Institute, and one of our primary purposes is to take young people from being a life passenger to being a life leader. We want them to be able to guide and make decisions and make choices and have opinions about their own lives and not just be told what society tells them to do. They might adopt it, but they'll go through a matrix in order to get there. I am so proud that over the last year, a few of my colleagues are here with me, Michael Bronker and Leslie Allen that came with us. We have a few of our teammates that are not present, but we are so proud because in the last year, we have been with these teachings. We have been able to stand with students from over, and I don't want to get this wrong, almost 40 countries across the world. Over 1,800 students, over 800 parents have gone through what we call the Champions module. We've been able to give these modules to some of our amazing partners, the Hazelwood East Spartans, which is a high school in Missouri. You see some of the others, the Kenya Keys, AAU. Some of our guests that are here today had a chance to talk with our friends from Intrepid who have been amazing by donating and giving to our platform so that we can give our online lessons. Also, in a few moments, you're going to get a chance to see one of our heart tugs with the Special Olympics. We are very proud of the opportunity that we have been given to give these 4-week free, somebody shout free, leadership development classes at the Blanchard grade, Blanchard quality, Blanchard level lessons to your high schoolers for absolutely free. I want you to leave this place and go and find a QR code, go and get a flyer, stop by our table, and make sure that you give this to some high schooler that needs to get these lessons to be a tremendous leader. These are our friends at the Special Olympics. We had a chance to be with them at the Berlin Games in 2023. They are here today. We are so proud to be their partners, and we're so proud to take some of these lessons to some of our friends all across the world. This is what we do. This is just a picture of our Inspire session. We have a class in China. They actually, they speak in their native languages. These are powerful, powerful online tools and some in-person tools that help change people's lives. And for as much amazing work that the Blanchard Institute does, they don't stop there. They also offer 10 students $2,500 scholarships, high school seniors that are US-based. They're allowed to go for these 10 scholarships. We're very proud of that because I could not have imagined myself working for another winner, but I wanted to work with other champions. I have a quote from one of America's greatest champions, one of our world's greatest champions, because you and I have an opportunity in the workforce to make tremendous change in somebody's life. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said this. He said, "We have before us the glorious opportunity to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of our civilization. Our motto must be freedom and justice through love, and the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of a beloved community." Winners don't do that. Champions do. God bless you.
Once again, Terrell Fletcher. Now I'm realizing why I'm jogging everywhere. The faster you are, the slower you walk. I love that quote. Great message.